Hi, my name is Mara Bellis, and I am the Executive Director of the Shelter Playgroup Alliance. And this is an overview of our core program so that you can make an informed decision on whether or not to apply to the program. So the program goals for our educational goals for you are to ground you in both animal welfare ethics, but also ethics in terms of training and behavior modification. We will take you through some foundational training and behavior knowledge. So it may be if you are an experienced trainer and or behavior consultant, some of this information may be a review for you. Some of it may be new, but we are aiming toward developing knowledge, skills, and abilities across all levels of knowledge and skill. Then we'll take you through enrichment approaches and protocols, including implementing shelter dog playgroups. And then we talk about behavior modification. So what we know from our experience is that not very many dogs in shelters, by and large, are ready and able to participate in shelter dog playgroups. But with some support, then they can be playgroup ready. So we talk about behavior modification protocols and approaches so that we can improve or increase the number of dogs who are ready and willing and desire to be in playgroups with other dogs. So you probably have noticed that we have two different core programs, one that we call Core Hybrid and one that we call Core Online. The Core Hybrid program is for intact teams or shelters or groups of shelters in the same area that wish to all go through the program together. And then we come and do a 3-day workshop at one of the shelter locations, if it's multiple shelters that are getting together. This is a paid for program, and those costs depend on the location of the shelter and essentially what our travel costs would be to bring our team, and then how many people would be in the in-person workshop. Now, the Core Online program is an application-based program that is for 60 people who will take the program for free. So if you're considering the Core Hybrid program, but you want one of your team to go through it or a couple of your team to go through it, then the Core Online program is a great place to start to see if the program would be right for your entire shelter and if you want to put funding against it. So the Core Online program is the same content as the Core Hybrid minus the in-person workshop. So the Core Online program is a no-cost program for 60 people. The total cohort is 75, but those additional 15 seats are for folks who aren't able to complete within their first cohort. So we allow 15 people to quote unquote roll over to the next cohort. So regardless of the program, in general, the time frame is 16 weeks, although for the hybrid program for shelters who are paying for the program, we can negotiate that time frame and the start dates and times. But regardless, we want folks to spend about 20 to 30 minutes per day on the online learning. So this is based on research in chunked learning. So the knowledge, skills, and abilities that we're developing can also help you be much safer in the shelter environment. So the more behavior knowledge, the more knowledge that you have of training, the more knowledge you have of behavior modification, just improves animal welfare across the board and also keeps everybody safer. And then in addition, provides you with a good foundation for creating an enrichment program. So That's why we want you to do it in 20 to 30 minutes per day, because if you chunk your learning, then the chance of you remembering that content later on is increased. So if you take like just an hour course, you're going to remember about 20% of that with chunked learning, and then applying that knowledge or thinking about that knowledge over time, then your rate of retention goes up considerably. So that translates into about 2 to 3 hours per week. So that's for successful completion of the program. So that's really the commitment that we're looking for. So what are you going to be doing during that 20 minutes a day, 2 to 3 hours per week? So this is the course list for weeks 1 through 5. So you see that we have a lot of foundational knowledge on training and ethics and some of the basics of what enrichment is. And then we start get into the behavior modules. So canine communication, we talk about fear, anxiety, and aggression, and play. And then we start to go into some protocols and some safe handling and processes like dog introductions. And then we start to get into behavior modification. So that's that play groups for behavior modification, parts 1 and 2. And then our intermediate courses are the application of everything that you've learned prior. And we just want you to we want to see that you can do that with animals in your care, where you're identifying what would be appropriate for a particular behavior, constellation of behaviors. And then we have some advanced courses that talk a little bit more of the literature, not processes and procedures that we want you to use. We certainly want you to use reinforcement, but this is a little bit deeper dive into motivating operations and concepts around reinforcement. But for example, punishment and extinction, we don't want you to use them, but we do want you to have a good grounding in what those terms mean and the implications of when you see extinction or punishment at play. So that's the course overview. Now, one of the things that makes our program different is that we have quite a number of assessments and assignments, and we have a grading team of about 8 or 9 people, depending on the quarter or depending on the cohort term, who are reviewing all of your videos, reviewing your writing and assessments of behavior, and providing you feedback. So that's a really important piece of this learning program. So that's why we ask you to start at the beginning of when you get access to the learning modules, and then chunk your time and do just a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, and then you'll be able to get through the program. You'll be able to apply all of your learning. And then in many cases, we're going to be sending assignments or assessments back to you and ask you to revisit something or pause every couple of seconds and relook at the behavior. So while it looks like maybe you could do it in a relatively short period of time, that's actually not realistic. So kind of cramming in that knowledge is not something that you can do with a program that is designed to really assess your knowledge and skill relative to the content. So it's quite a bit of time. So if you think about any of the video assessments or assignments that we do, we're asking you to do some training. We're asking you to show us that you can do some behavior modification. And then you're thinking about maybe an hour to set the camera up and then do the video and download the video and edit it and send it in. So we're actually looking at quite a bit of time. That's why we front load a lot of the content that does not have video. And then on those weeks that have video, then that's really where you're spending most of your time. So that's how we have that checklist laid out. So if you need help, we are here. We have office hours for 90 minutes. They're drop-in office hours every 3 weeks, and we send you weekly reminders to help prompt you that you're in the program because life gets busy. And this is where you should be relative to the program progress. So those office hours and weekly reminders are some touch points outside of that checklist and you managing your own time that help you toward program completion. So what are some of the keys to success? So access to more than one species. So we do require more than one species of sheltered animals. We really ask that you do not work with your own animals. And a part of that is that we want you to apply this knowledge in shelter. We are the Shelter Playgroup Alliance, and our goal is to improve welfare of sheltered animals. So we want you to practice these skills in the context in which we're looking for those skills to be applied. It's really helpful if you have more than one person at your shelter or rescue going through the program. So unlike a university program, we want you to collaborate on those assessments and assignments. We want you to look at those videos together and write the assessments together. You'll turn in your individual work, but you can absolutely work on stuff together. That means that you are learning together, that you're discussing stuff together, and then you're seeing feedback together and then making adjustments. You do need to have the ability to video and edit video. We also want you to have like a tripod or some way of standing up video, and then an openness and willingness to accept kind and constructive feedback. So those are the keys to success. So if this program still looks good to you, then go ahead during the application period, submit your application for review. So we do have generally more applicants than we do have spaces. So we have a rubric, and just like our feedback rubric, we have a 65-page rubric that we use to make sure that our grading is as fair and consistent across the graders as possible. We have the same type of rubric for allowing access to folks to the program. So we're looking for that you have the access to more than one species, that you're working with a shelter or rescue. We give extra points to folks an extra point to folks who are trying to go through the program together. And then we're really looking for your commitment to learning, your commitment to positive reinforcement, and your openness to feedback. So, and kind of your thoughtfulness, that you kind of understand what the commitment might be, so that you can assess whether this is the right time in your life and your career to go through this program. So if all of that seems like this is the right time, then please submit an application, and we look forward to seeing you in the core cohort.